Oh, I think we're live. Okay.
We're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Angie Atkinson, and I am here with the lovely and talented Lise Colucci. Lise, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
As we are jumping into our our day today, we are here to talk about Leaving the Narcissist. Now, I see that we are getting the chat is it making me say hello in the chat again? Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. Hi, everybody. All right. So if you'll keep an eye on chat, we will have our moderators in here in a moment. They will fill you in. Humble Mama will fill you in on our details on how to get in touch with us and how to get in touch with our stream every week and everything. Okay. Christine Schwartz, welcome back. She is one of our new admin moderators. All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about leaving the narcissist today. So let's first talk about the signs that we need to leave the narcissist, shall we? Lise, what are your what do you think are some of the signs we should leave a narcissist?
Well, you woke up and you realized you're with a narcissist. I mean, there's never a sign to stay with one. Let's put it that way. But signs you're in a toxic relationship, things like you don't ever feel supported. You're walking on eggshells all the time. You feel a threat, like you feel threatened even if no one's ever physically threatened you. You have a sense of doom within the relationship. You feel better when they get up and go to work and you're right. Like alone. They are extremely jealous and controlling. What else? You catch them in lies, or you suspect there are multiple layers of lies going on. Cheating. It's any of the red flags of a narcissist, but I mean, really ready to leave if you feel threatened, if you feel afraid, if you feel trapped. Yeah.
If you've had enough.
You've had enough.
Yeah. Welcome to the Spanily Redheaded Riding Hood. Thank you. And hey, She-Wolf. Tea or coffee on She-Wolf. Thank you. Thank you. Hugs and smiles for all. Okay. Got a couple of people going in the chat already. This is great. Thanks, guys. All right. So all of those are absolutely true. And then what about, I think it comes down to, for me, I think it comes down to, you know, if you need to rush out or you can have time to plan, right? Because they're two different. So if you are feeling threatened, if you're physically threatened or you're afraid that this person will do something terrible, you know, then you have to rush out. If you have time to plan, that can be a little bit easier. So, and you can visit, well, look, it's Dr. Marnie. Hey, girl. She was one of our co-authors in our what was it called? It was called The Evolution of Echo, I think it was called. What's that book called when we put them all together, put all the stories together?
Collaboration?
Yeah, but it's called something else. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, I can't think of the word to save my life. Oh, Luminia, hey girl, says, so thrilled to be catching you live. Thank you for all you do to support victims. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. She gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you. And oh, redheaded riding hood. I remember you. And thank you so much for joining. We also have a very exciting new thing. Sorry, Lise, with the channel memberships. And we've been able to launch a Discord server.
Is that me or are you frozen? I can't tell. Angie looks frozen. If Angie's frozen, I don't know.
Did I lose her? Oh, me.
Was that me or was that me?
Anthology. No, it was me. It was me, girl. It was me.
Okay. So if that happens, I should just keep talking, right?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, I can't tell if it's me. I'm like, oh no. Okay.
Sorry. No, it was me. I don't even know what but that's right. Anthology. Evolution of Echo Anthology.
Anthology. There we go. Yes.
Thank you. I had a brain fart there, y'all. Okay. Let's get back on track. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about if you need to leave immediately, what do you do? So obviously, if you need to leave immediately and you cannot just, you know, you don't have time to plan, obviously you can stay with a friend or family member, great. Oh, I know what I was saying. If you go to queenbeing.com/plan, PLAN, there are some downloads you can get for free. There are a ton of videos on this topic. So for planning and for leaving immediately. for emergency stuff. All right. Lise, what would you suggest to someone if they had to leave right now because they were in physical or another type of danger?
That is tricky because everybody has a different situation. I would need more information, but
right. Let's say that they needed to go because they were in physical danger. They had kids. What would you say to them? Would you tell them?
Well, an abuse shelter is one option. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody likes doing that. Nobody says it's the best thing in the world for anyone. However, it may keep you safe and save your life or your kid's life. So, if you have any resources where you can have financial funds, you pack up when they're not looking and you just go. You don't give the narcissist a chance to have a conversation about it, to have an opinion on it, to have a discussion about it, and to keep you there. Right. Especially if there's violence. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So you do what you have to do to get out of that situation.
You do what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Ideally, if you have a friend or family member that can help you, of course, go there first, but we don't always have that option.
Right.
So,
right.
If you don't have that, if you don't need to rush out and you're just kind of, then you can plan ahead. You can work on a number of different things. So what are some of the things off the top of your head that you would work on if you had, say, 6 months to plan, please?
Well, first of all, money, stashing away money. There are lots of ideas on how to do that. Everything from buying a little extra at the grocery store and getting a cash back, or however you can hide it in the receipt, to doing odd jobs and keeping the cash that you get from that stashed away. Even if you have to borrow it from friend or family member to offset it, if you're in a situation where there is a marriage and finances available that they're going to freeze, get an attorney ahead of time and make sure that you have get an emergency, whatever they do. I'm not legal, so right. I don't know the legal terms or any of that, but they can help you to make sure that the assets aren't frozen or just taken before. Right. Other than financially, I know of someone that she was brilliant. She spent a year. She knew she was leaving, and she knew it was going to take a while. And this was an entire narcissistic family. It was their husband plus his entire family, and culturally they were very steeped in being around the family, so she couldn't extract herself easily. So she just pretended she was remodeling the house. Redecorating the house, and she took all her furniture and stuck it in a storage.
Wow.
Thing, little at a time.
Smart.
Over the course of like 6 months to a year, she had an entire apartment house worth of stuff.
Amazing.
She's like, half I'm going to sell, half I'm going to keep. But then when she sold the furniture, she could keep the money.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fine line between taking things that truly belong in a marital split and then taking what's yours, right? Not a fine line. There's a clear line, right? And a narcissist will pretend everything's theirs because they get very stuff focused often.
Yes. Yes. I have
go ahead.
I just want to throw in something. Sometimes it's your house, right? And sometimes you want them out of the house. And this is kind of harsh, but what I've seen people do and what I have suggested to people, when you have a situation where a person won't leave your house, of course, you have to check the laws of your state or your area that you live in and make sure that you're within your rights to do this. But otherwise, you have to go through the whole formal eviction process. But what I've seen people do in some cases is, one lady actually owned an apartment building. And so she literally took all his stuff and set him up in an apartment and said, "This is where you live now," and handed him a key. I mean, not all of us has that option, but I love that. That was like my favorite. Another thing people do though is they'll have all the stuff taken out of the house and they'll put it in a storage locker, and then they'll either mail the key or they will, tape it to the front door. You have 1 month. Here's your storage. Here's all your stuff. And that's also happened when narcissists will leave stuff in the house in order to come back.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them leaving ridiculous things like broken flower pots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just
real. Yeah. I need that flower pot.
Right.
And the piece of paper. What piece of paper? Well, I'll know what it is when I get there. It's
right. Yes. So these are all things to think about. You were going to say something else before I.
Oh, I don't know. I was just going on about that story. Probably it's okay.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
All right.
there's so many things that you have to think about when you're leaving.
Right.
Any
And-
relationship, but this in particular, because you're going to need it to be swift, cut and dry, and you're going to need to cut losses sometimes.
Yes. And you need to think about the little things if you have time. So, for
Mhm.
example, you might think about, like, I don't know, one thing I think is really important is like comfort up to a point. And so, like, let's say maybe you want to make sure that you get a decent bed for yourself, or you want to make sure that you get the right kind of pillow or the right kind of whatever. If there's little things that will help you be more comfortable in your new place and you can afford to make that happen, do it, because then you'll be stronger and you won't feel so weak, staying out. So, yeah. Okay. Do you have any other off the top? Did I mention queenbeing.com/PLAN for those of you who are still looking for, and that's all free stuff. Okay. And I know, Lise,
yes,
with your groups, your coaching groups, have you found, or even your one-on-one coaching, have you found people finding, having better luck working with yourself or with your group to get out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially the emotional part. The logistics, once someone gets to the point where they're done, the logistics seem to fall into place for a lot of people. Not everyone. It can be really hard for some people. And I understand there's so many different circumstances out there. But for a lot of people, we'll just say on average, once they get to the emotional place of realizing they're trauma bonded, realizing that all these feelings they have aren't in sync with what they know is going on up here, it can help with that stuff, which then helps leaving.
Yes. And the thing that going through that kind of stuff, like, I know one of your groups at one point you were talking, one of your groups was about like regaining sense of self or self-esteem. And I've heard so many amazing things from people coming out. Anyway, I just wanted to.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's good. I just, at this point, I've combined them all and we just talk about wherever people are at. And some people are in the process of leaving. And I'm just thinking of one person that I know was in for a while and she didn't leave. But she learned to cope better and she learned to build her self-esteem. And then a year later, she wrote me and said, I'm out. And I was like, there it is. And she said, it was having that help plus the work she did on her own, plus getting her life squared away and then just jumping and doing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So should we jump into the chat or do you have any more tips before we do that?
That's all I can think of without specific topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump in here. Okay. So Redheaded Riding Hood says, I moved away from my ex, but these narcissists are everywhere. I'm having trouble getting away from them. And I think I saw somewhere else where she was saying she's being bullied on YouTube, and I'm going to try to get to that. Oh, hello, Misfit Bassett Faces. I don't know why I can't say her name right. I'm so sorry. But I do love that name. Okay. She said, I'm Redheaded Riding Hood said, I'm actually afraid someone I just met is in danger, but I'm not sure yet if it's physical abuse. Let's talk about that. So when you're dealing with someone who is in an abusive situation, I know this is slightly off topic, but I think this is an important thing to talk about. From my perspective, the way that I would, of course, if I felt comfortable enough asking them, are you in danger, then I would. And is there something I can do to help you? Let me help you. Absolutely. But sometimes people aren't going to tell the truth. And sometimes, a lot of times, if we're being honest, and a lot of times, even if they are in physical danger, they don't see the forest for the trees.
It can be hard to see even when something's happening. People get abuse amnesia quickly for this type of thing. And so many people say, I don't know why I don't see that as abuse.
Right.
I mean, they did this, this, and this, and I don't understand, and it's part of the cognitive dissonance that happens.
Right. Well, it's a high, I think we develop a high threshold for abuse when we.
That too. Yeah.
Right. And so, and like, if, let's say when they were growing up, they were beaten severely and now they just get, smacked once in a while or knocked over or whatever. They think it's no big deal. It's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're asking us a question on that, Redheaded Riding Hood, but what I would say is ultimately, see if you can get them to admit that they're having trouble. And if they can, or even just say, you know, if you ever need anything, I'm here. Or maybe tell them about your situation that you went through, and maybe they can, you know what I mean? Try to get them to open up. And then if there's something you can do, some resources you can share, there's tons on moving.com and all over the place. Yeah. Okay. Any other tips for?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Share resources. Sometimes people don't want to talk directly about it, especially when they don't know you. Because she said just met them. So it might be just like, wow, I that resonates with me. I hear that, or that reminds me of something that happened in my life, which the way you're saying these things. Here's some resources that help.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. I'm having a little bit of an allergic reaction to something. My nose feels weird. It's all fine. It's all fine. I just feel like I'm poofing up. Okay. Amanda says, I wish I would have moved to the shelter when they suggested, because the police didn't help at all. Now, this is another problem that we have sometimes, right? Is that the police don't see the forest for the trees, or they don't, you know, they believe the narcissist. Narcissists can be very charming, and in some cases they are the police, which is even worse.
Well, and they're not trained in the nuances of mental health, and and in, you know, they see domestic disputes as potential for danger. They see it from protecting and keeping them, you know, themselves. They see it from a different perspective than someone trying to help extract. And also they're used to people coming in and saying, no, they didn't do that.
Right.
And so what do? They can't. Yeah. So it's a combo of everything.
It's tough.
Yeah. Which means we can't rely on that as a source of.
Right. Right. Now, the thing that you can do though is, you know, if you do need to call the police, like, you have to be unafraid to say, this is why I've called you. And you have, I mean, I think a lot of times what happens is that we are shamed or scared into shutting our mouths, right? And this is especially true when the narcissist is, let's say, extreme, or if they are physically abusing you, or if they will do other kinds of punishments to you. You know, you can feel like there's no way out. And moving to the shelter, I can just, one person off the top of my head, who I will not bring up her name, but she has been, I mean, I have watched her go from being an absolute victim to literally taking back her life in such a beautiful way. She actually left and went to a shelter. And you don't see that a lot because people are so scared, right? And believe me, I totally get it, but she did. She left, went to a shelter, and now she's living somewhere else, in a different state, has a great apartment, has a new boyfriend. I'm so proud of her. I could just cry. I mean, seriously, she's doing great. So, and it's never easy, you know, to go through this process, but it really does make a difference, right? Yeah. Okay. As Christine says, once you know what to look for, you cannot not see the red flags, right? It's like they're everywhere. Yeah. And that's another thing. And we see this a lot, don't we? Where people come in and they go, I realized I was with a narcissist, or I realized this person or that person was a narcissist. And all of a sudden I looked around and there they all were everywhere. Right?
Every friend I had, every family member, what the heck? Yeah.
Right. And there are a couple of things to think about that. So first of all, some of them might just be, you know, a little difficult, but some of them might really be narcissists. A lot of them might be, because what happens is that, or at least toxic, let's say, because what happens is when we are raised to be a codependent people pleaser, you know, we end up living our lives in such a way that we are just basically walking around the world trying not to offend anybody, trying to make sure nobody's upset, or, you know, and so we have no boundaries, and or they're very weak boundaries, and we allow people to walk over them. We do things we don't have time or energy to do just because, please don't be mad at me, right? And then we end up completely drained. And yeah, of course, there's a lot of people that are toxic around us wanting to take from us, because what else, you know, you can't, like, it's almost like we are raised and primed for this by people who may have also been toxic.
Yeah. And it's normal. We're used to it. Yeah. We don't think that's how relationships are, friendships are, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Elizabeth says, let's see. Nope, that's not for me. That's for Jack. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh, interesting. Red says, I did a balance transfer unbeknownst to my ex and put $5,000 in an account in 2015. That's how she handled the money situation. That's smart. That's really smart. And UNA, hey Peggy, says to Red, I almost want to say laugh at their pathetic attempts. Enjoy your creativity making videos you want. Okay, so I guess Red is making videos on YouTube now, and people are harassing her. And that's ridiculous. I would guess that probably has something to do with someone who knows you from a past life. I mean, and I would just, as a YouTuber, let me say this: you're allowed to block anybody. You're allowed to hide them forever on your channel if they make rude and unhelpful comments. So, I mean, I'm always open to constructive criticism. Like, for example, when I started this years ago, people were like, girl, stop putting music in your stuff. It stresses me out. I have sensory issues. And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I did stop for the moment. I do use it in shorts sometimes, but not in long videos anymore except for maybe a little sting at the end. But just because I know that you guys don't love it, And so my point is that was constructive criticism. People tell me all the time to talk slower. I try.
People tell me that too. You know what? We have a lot of information up here and we're trying to spit it out as
we're trying to save you time, y'all.
We're trying to get it all out there, right?
I'm just saying.
We're just talking. Yeah, I get the same thing. Can you slow down? Probably not. I'm so sorry.
Okay. But there is a way. I think there's a way you can actually run the video slower and okay. Anyway, all right. Let's see here. Oh, Melissa. Hey, Melissa. She says, I made a list of what we needed and what we didn't need. Excuse me, I can't read. And what we didn't. And she said the amount of money I would need monthly, etc. And I think that's really, really smart. It's really smart. And in fact, like I was saying, in that Queen Being plan that you can get for free, that actually contains planning sheets that will just really help you kind of remember all the things, right? One of the things is like, all the items you need to get. And it even goes into like, I need to have a go bag. I need to have it depending on what your situation is. And it goes into all the details. So as well as planning for money and everything else. Okay. Let's see. And I think that's a really smart thing.
Another thing I just thought of, if you have time to plan, be building your support system. Get yourself into coaching or therapy if you need to. Get your friends around you that you trust. Keep it small though. Don't be telling everyone what you're planning to do because flying monkeys are out there and you don't want that happening. But people that you really, really trust, if they don't need to know what's going on, but you do need to know that they're there and have your back. It's helpful. Yeah.
It is. Yes. Darlene says, hey, Darlene, she says, I'm so happy with a sign of healing from yesterday. I was helping my daughter decorate her apartment for Christmas. And at one point she started dancing to the Christmas music and I started dancing too. Oh my God. So much. Love it. And she said 2 other times I also started dancing to the music and I didn't feel any shame, embarrassment, or any other negative feelings my dad or my ex would have put on me. I had fun and felt great. I'm healing. Yay. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
I want to cry. That's beautiful. Yes. Love it. Good for you, darling. I'm so excited. Okay. See, look, I'm actually I gotta stop. I'm making on
okay. I can listen, but I can't read them too.
Probably good.
You got it. We'll
I get excited for people. All right, let's see here. And Darlene's been with us for a long time too. So oh yeah, that's right. Lisa has been a regular co-host for quite some time. Okay. Oh, now Chris says police need to be educated about narcissism and what it looks like in domestic violence situations. And that is true. And I think that it's, the more we're all, when I started doing this, there were just a few of us talking about this. And now, as you all know, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of us. So we're out there. We're getting the word out. It's now a household word. The term gaslighting is known. We're getting there. I think this is going to be a matter of willingness to learn on their part. But I hope that it will be. Yeah, and here we have Misfit Bases saying, and police also need to be educated about narcissistic women and false accusations.
Oh, heck yeah. That's real. Yeah, it's real, for real.
Talk about it.
Oh, I think every man, not every, but the majority of the men that come and talk to me have had some run-in where the police have been either called or the threats to call saying, if you do that, I'm going to throw my face into the wall and tell them you did it.
Oh yeah.
And I talked to one guy who's the woman actually did that. Fortunately, her kids were witnessing it. Unfortunately, and also fortunately, the kids were older. They were almost adults, and they said, "What the heck are you doing, Mom?"
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
And it's sad.
It's sad, but at least they saw the truth. And
yeah, but they don't always, and it's hard because I have one client who, his wife is a little tiny cute thing with a sweet little voice, and people just assume she's innocent, and that's unfortunately, it's actually a detriment for. It's just so difficult, I think, to. Maybe they should have a female and a male police officer come to a DV call. Huh?
I feel they should have a mental health worker come to every DV call. And that's
so.
Across the board. I mean, I don't know that the police can be trained and maintain. They can be trained, but I don't know that they can maintain the job they have to do separate from, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't a normal police call.
Yes.
This is something that requires someone that's not police, because also people don't want to talk to the police,
right? And as Misfit says, he says many male victims are further victimized by the police, and that's true, and that's really unfair. Okay, we have Jennifer Garcia saying, I had to leave everything behind. I only took my clothing and a couple of personal things. It was hard and heartbreaking, but that's what you have to do sometimes when you're in a situation. And listen, let me just throw this out here. As important as some things can be to us, ultimately, in the end, we don't get to take any of it with us. And I'm not trying to be like, oh,
it's true.
But it is. And ultimately, everything except yourself and your time can be replaced. So, I mean, except obviously, if you have the time and you have the ability, take your family heirlooms out of the house as soon as possible and put them somewhere safe, right? But if not, if you have to leave them, I'm sure that your relatives, ancestors, etc., would understand, and there's always a chance you could get it back, but your life is not, you can't get that back. So don't. I think Jennifer, you did the right thing. If you needed to go, you need to go, and you have to do what you have to do. And I'm so sorry that you lost all your things. Okay. Oh, Jack Lumen says to Red, Peggy's right. Even the biggest YouTubers get a flow of haterade. So, and I'm not even a big YouTuber. I mean, compared to, I guess, some might, but not, in general, I'm not one of those millions of YouTuber people, so millions of subscribers.
Oh yeah, so everyone gets it. No matter what, you get it.
But, big, small, somewhere in between. And that's, it's, and don't let it, like I said, don't let it get to you. Just, there's a little button next to their comment, and it says like, hide user from channel. Use that button, honey. Use it. And they can think they're commenting all day long, but nobody ever responds.
They can go troll someone else.
Exactly. All right, let's see here. Oh, and then Misfit says, also victimized again by the courts. And that's sad but true. And then he adds, her tears are not evidence. Right. And female narcissists are infamous.
Oh my gosh. My gosh. Yeah.
And on a side note, they have a tendency toward parental alienation. I mean, men do it too. Don't misunderstand.
Oh yeah, but they
narcissists in general. But, and they
Amanda says, and when they can't alienate, they indoctrinate the kids against you. So
yes,
when they can't fully alienate, they'll they'll find the thing that is the hardest thing for you to deal with, and then get the kid to do that thing.
Okay, let's see. I just lost my place in chat because I have to do that at least once a session. Of course. But I found it again. Yay. Okay. Yes. Now this is interesting. Darlene says Johnny Depp comes to mind. Hopefully his story will raise awareness. Yeah. I mean, what do you have any thoughts about that before I say anything? Because I don't know if I've missed anything on it. But
no, I mean, it's accurate. Yeah.
I mean, and so
he's fortunate he had the money to fight it, and enough people that backed him.
Yeah, and maybe it will help raise awareness. I mean, that's ideal for, Okay. Let's see. Redheaded Riding Hood says, Stephanie says comfort stuff is important. Yes. Redheaded Riding Hood says, I got the smaller house, which was fine with me. We were married 30 years. He paid it off, but destroyed my credit. I downsized, sold the house, and moved. Yeah. Now travels the country. Oh, I love it so much. Travels the country in her RV and moved from Georgia to Illinois. Where in Illinois? Okay, tell me that later. Okay. Amanda says, I like the bed suggestion. Self-care is important. Absolutely. More important than ever, I think.
Oh yeah, that's the most important probably as you're,
yeah. Talk about it, Lise, because I know you guys talk about that.
Well, I mean, it's what you have at that point, right? You've got yourself and you aren't going to break free of the trauma bonds, the pain, the grief, all of it. If you're not taking, if you're what you have to take care of you, then you need to be there for yourself and take care of you. And it does help speed up healing if you can.
For sure.
Yeah. Not to cover it up. You still need to grieve. You still need to feel all the stuff you got to feel to give yourself breaks from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that sounds super fun to travel the country in your RV. I hope to do that someday. That sounds so awesome. Yeah. And Jack agrees. Says, sounds like a shrewd decision. Yes. Jennifer says, I left and I've been building myself. Oh, good for you. A new life, 2,000 miles away from him. It's been 1 year. Congratulations. And I'm so proud of you. I know that was not easy, but good for you. Yeah. Peggy says, when I finally came to my senses 3 years later, I gave him 1 month and I told him if it wasn't picked up, and she's talking about her stuff, it would go to the dump. 1 month later, I made a huge dump deposit. I love that so much. That's the best thing I heard all day. Right? It's the best. Yes, that's the kind of badass we all need to be a little bit if we can do it. Okay. I don't know if I'm that much of a badass, but you never know. Maybe I would be. Who knows? Anyway, I love it. Let's see here. Hufflemom, wait a minute, says, I may have already said this, but what an awesome name to Redheaded Riding Hood. It's Writing Hood. Yeah, Writing Hood. I like that too. Stephanie says, wash the perp out of your hair. Indeed. Let's see. Okay, Corrigan says, what if you left and you can't get your belongings? I mean, that is a real possibility. Right?
And it happens. Yeah.
Obviously,
they hold it hostage.
They do. You have some legal avenues you can try, but there is a chance that you won't get it back. If it's highly valuable financial, like if it's worth a lot of money, then, and you're able to go through the courts, you can do that. A lot of times stuff, if you're legally married, divorce can require them to return certain things. And you could even, if it's in their house, depending on where you live, a lot of times you can actually get the police to come with you and they will make them let you go into the house and get the stuff. And then they'll go with you. One of them can go with you or something. And they'll make the person stay outside while you go in and get your stuff. So that's a possibility as well, depending on where you live. Any other thoughts for Corrigan?
Yeah. And then the unfortunate thing is, like I said to begin with, sometimes we have to cut our losses, and it's unfortunate. And it's, if you've exhausted all your means to get it out, your freedom is so much more valuable than.
And your life is more.
And your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and of course, and Jack, by the way, agreed with you. He said you may need to figure on cutting your losses because you might not get it back, which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. I mean, that's not something I want to tell someone, but yeah. Don't hold on to that, like, especially if it's a few items. Some people get really upset about like a sweater.
Yes.
And that's nothing wrong with that. If that's, that's what they're upset about, they're upset about it. But the bigger picture, 2 years down the line, that's really not, it's going to matter very little. It's more that I think sometimes people hold on as a means to sort of keep engaged with a narcissist. So if you are able to let it go and cut your losses, it will save you a lot of time.
Yes. Absolutely. And let's see here. Stephanie adds background check future relationships. And I say, yeah, absolutely, if you can. But I think the thing that you have to remember is that a background check is not always going to show all the things.
Yeah.
And, a lot of narcissists are like ministers who have never committed a crime in their life legally or officially, or whatever. So certainly it can help.
There's nothing illegal about narcissism.
There should be.
There should be, but there's not. There's not. And we can't, I mean, what are they going to check? Criminally, there are a lot of sociopaths. So yeah, maybe they might be.
And you can, right. And if you see somebody who has domestic violence charges,
that too.
Like, obviously that's a red flag. But then of course they might say, well, I was the victim and they just turned everything, you know,
Sorry.
yes, no worries. Yeah. Okay. But otherwise, I do think it's a good idea if you can. Now, Corrigan says she left everything, including her car. I think Corrigan's saying, no, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. So I, you know, again, if you were legally married and you have, or if the car is legally your car, I believe you can go through the courts to try to get it back. But outside of that, I don't really, unless you're willing to just go take it in the nighttime or something.
The nighttime.
In the nighttime. I'm so sophisticated over here. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Dr. Marnie says she wishes she had planned better. And I know she has gone through some real H-E double hockey sticks. And if you read that book, you'll see her story, or parts of it anyway. Redheaded Riding Hood says it's an important topic. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. And Misfit Bassist says, I'm sorry, my friend. He also left with the clothes on his back. And Amanda says, yeah, background checks are a must. I totally agree that they can be helpful, because if you find DV in there,
yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that could help with. Right.
It's gonna weed out some people. But there are so many abusive people who just literally look perfect on paper. I mean,
and get away with it.
Yeah. My best suggestion to you moving forward for new relationships is to first take plenty of time to heal and understand what you went through. Don't rush into anything, because you're going to have some, you know, depending on how long you were in that relationship, not only do you have to heal yourself, but you also have to learn the red flags and how to recognize them, and then how to not allow yourself to ignore them. It's so easy for us to ignore them when we're just lonely, right?
You get attention, or you get
right.
Right.
Okay. And this is what Hufflemom says too, to Corrigan, which is basically similar to what I said before, and it's right, except she adds bring a friend. She said, I think you tell them when you're going to get your stuff, you bring a friend in the police, never go back alone. Agreed 100%. Darlene says same thing. You can contact the police to go with you and make arrangements to get your things, which is exactly what I also. So we're all on the same page here. I mean, yeah. And then Misfit says, yeah, don't get too attached to anything when it's time to go. And I think that's another important point, again, because your stuff is not as important as your life. Right. Yeah. Let's see. And Jack suggests maybe enlist others, like relatives and things like that, to help, or friends to help get your things. Possibility you may need to start. Yeah. And thank you for saying you won't go alone. I think that's really smart. I would suggest, Corrigan, that you look into the police. Because they do have, in most states, they offer that service. And it's not just for like.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you're going to do it, and you know you're going to, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to call the police, and we're going to go in there, have a list for yourself, like go through your place, their place now, in your head, mentally walk yourself through each room, make a list for each room, make a piece of paper, so you can walk through and get what you need. Does that make sense? Otherwise, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Michelle asks a question that I think we're going to try to answer here. Now, really quickly, Michelle, Lise, let me tell you this question. It's been 32 years full control, including financial. How do I go? So this is a rough question. I've done videos on this in the past. I think Lise may have done them as well. But what I think it comes down to is obviously you check around, see if you have friends or family that can help, because she's dealing with financial abuse, right? So she doesn't have any access to money, is what I'm guessing.
I would start with a legal aid for, I'm assuming because it's she, for women. Often there are in your, I don't know, your state, city, whatever, look into legal aid, even if it's just for a consult, to figure out what you need to put in place, what options you have, and have a list of really good questions. Like, you have your situation succinct, so you just tell them quickly, and then have lists of questions. How do I do this financially? How do I make, things that'll make it so you can leave? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good stuff. Yes. And there are a lot of resources. Some people will, start some kind of like little secret business on the internet, and I've actually helped people do that in the past. But it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But I would suggest, with full control, including financial, which is what she says here, you take your time.
It's slow.
plan. Look into that plan. In fact, in that plan, one of the videos is an interview I did with a lady who was in the same situation, and she got real sneaky. And there's tips in that. I won't say them here, but if you go check those out in that queenbee.com/PLAN. Again, it's completely free. Okay. Now this is an interesting one here too. Red Riding Hood says, Redheaded Writing Hood. What a great name. My ex got my grown children to be emotionally and even a little physically, with her grown son, abusive. I had to move out of my house because of them. And that's horrible. I mean, that's awful. But this is the type of conditioning, these kids, when they're being raised with somebody like this, and this person has so much control, they actually think they're doing the right thing, which is shocking and horrifying. But yeah, any thoughts about that?
The narcissistic person has put you in a role, and then they raised the children, now adults, see you in that same role that the narcissist put you in. So if they see you as the doormat, then you're the doormat, and everybody wipes their feet on you. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But here's the thing: sometimes once everything is over, you can reconnect with them, and you can try to, go to therapy together or whatever. In this case, with it being a grown son, that makes it a little harder because he has to be willing to do that then. But I really think that whether it's grown children or not, I really think that it's an awful thing to do, to alienate a child from the other parent, especially when the other parent is a nice person. but in general, it's not okay. I think it's, well, we don't need to go into all the narcissism stuff about that, because there's a lot of complication when we have an abusive parent, right?
Yeah.
But even then, you could still possibly make arrangements for them to see the person with supervision. But I personally would say if they're very physically abusive, then what's the point of that? Anyway, unfortunately, in my case, I ended up with the abuser and not with the one who wouldn't, and alienated from the one who wouldn't have abused me. Okay. This is an important point, everybody. As Helpful Mom notes here, be sure to let her or Jack Lumen know if there's a topic you want us to cover during a future live stream. They're going to keep a running list for us. So thank you guys for that, our mod squad. Yep. All right. Now, Corrigan says, I'm trying to stay afloat. Good. Sunny Day says, only you can help you. Stop depending on others to help you, especially the police. Look, I totally agree. But sometimes, you need help. And that's why we recommend, especially if you're trying to get back expensive things or your important things.
Yeah.
You certainly don't. I mean, I guess you could gather up a group of big, tough people to come with you, but that puts you at legal risk. Whereas if you have the police on your side, again, I know they're not perfect, believe me, but there are decent individual police officers, and I know that's not always, but they sometimes have even special departments within a police department, depending on how large it is, that will be focused on specifically people who have gone through abuse and domestic violence. So that's another possibility. Yeah. Lise, any thoughts on that?
I think, it's a mix of course, only you can be the one to lift you up for real. And also there are so many resources out there that sometimes you need to tap into it a little bit.
You really do. Yeah. And don't be afraid. I mean, and if somebody's the wrong person for you, or if somebody is the wrong type of police officer, I know there are jerks out there, believe me. Well, but I also right, my grandfather was a police officer years ago. He's deceased now, but he was just absolutely not one of those bad guys. Do you know what I mean? He was a really sweet, kind person and had his own kids, and so understood how it was, and in fact married my grandmother after her own domestic violence situation, so was a little extra protective. So I mean, there are different types of people who are police officers. Some of them are worthless and some of them aren't. So hopefully, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, it's just and if the resource isn't working for you, seek other resources. Yes. That's another point too. That is how you help yourself. Sometimes it's through sifting through what isn't working.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yeah. And to be able to get the strength to go, be diligent, plan and go. Yes.
Mhm.
That was from Stephanie. Alexa said, I'm sorry, Alexandra says, how do you teach him to realize he is hurting me with the choice of words he's saying during an argument? Oh,
You
honey.
don't, honey.
You can try,
Mm.
but that you're going to just, it's like banging your head against the wall.
Number one, they probably know. He probably knows he's hurting you. That's the point.
But he's pretending he doesn't, I'm sure.
He's pretending he doesn't. Or he's playing like he doesn't know what's going on.
Right. And you know, I cannot tell you over the years how many times I've tried to teach a narcissist, how would you feel if I did this or that or the other? And they don't.
They're like, well, if you wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have had to do that. So this isn't even the same situation. So what are you talking about?
Exactly.
The more you try and help, the more you try and get them to see your side of things.
Yeah.
The deeper you go into their lack of empathy, the more gaslighting comes out their mouth. And
that's right.
The more confused you end up. You teach them by gray rocking them, not engaging with them and leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And I know, gosh, I know the pain that you're in right now, even asking that question.
Yeah.
But really what you do is, like, let's just say that Lise was insulting me right now. And
because, yeah.
Okay. You suck. Okay. Then I would just, oh, that's really interesting that you say that. Or I'd say no.
Is it interesting? Do you find that interesting?
I really do. Now what? You know what I mean? You have to
get the silent treatment.
Yeah, of course. Thank goodness, right? I'm just kidding. But the silent treatment.
Yeah. Right?
The silent treatment is, be a good.
And then that's okay. The silent treatment's a break from their mouth going. And
maybe gives you a chance to plan.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't teach them empathy.
No, they choose, even if we could, they would have to be open to learning it, and they're not.
They'd have to be, and they aren't able to experience it. So
right. And just reading her statement there, to me, gosh, how many times did I sit around and think, okay, I've got it. This is how I'm going to say it. They're going to get it.
Yeah, no, I know we've all done it. We've all done it. Yeah.
Big hugs to you. I feel your pain. I really do.
It's hard.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Ooh, okay. We have one from Red. She says, I'm talking about a neighbor. She's Asian and came to the door and said she was from next door, but didn't say much. I go in and out of town. Oh, she's talking about the one who might be in danger. I would just be there for her. Tell her if you are there, when you're there, she should come over and have coffee anytime or whatever you want to say. And just try to be open to her, maybe give her your phone number. But I don't know if she's like if she's from, like, if she's American or whatever, and she speaks English as well as you do, or if she doesn't. And that can also be part of the issue. And that's hard. So maybe if she's speaking a different language as a primary, maybe you can help her find someone who also speaks that language and can help her understand better what you're trying to say. I don't know if that's helpful at all. But I'm guessing she's not, I'm guessing she doesn't speak English as well, because you're telling me that she's Asian. And otherwise, I don't think you would tell me that in this case. I could be wrong, and I'm sorry if I sound like a weirdo right now. But
it's hard to read a question and know what the person's thinking.
Yeah,
I saw the time, and I have to go in a minute. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a good discussion. We're going to get ready to wrap up. I would like to continue to talk with you guys, but we are out of time. So next week we'll be here again. Lise, when's your next live stream over there at Lise?
Tomorrow probably. And then tomorrow I'm gonna mute.
Okay. All right. And so she'll be live tomorrow sometime. Make sure that you sign up at the Helpful Mom's going to share all that information with you in the chat here, and we will see you guys next week. Lise, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you. To our Mod Squad, Christine, Helpful Mom, Jack Lumen, thank you guys for all the things that you do. Remember, Helpful Mom, Jack Lumen, for ideas for future streams, and to our new member, Red, who is a longtime follower. Thank you, my friend, for joining up. We will see you guys next week. Thanks, Lise. Bye. All right. Here we go.